This is like whatever freehand notes the officer wrote down. One thing we can do to kind of see what the universe is of what we have. There's even this like weird, where this is like 2 pages in this.
Yeah.
Like somebody
acting like put their notes in that part. So.
Yeah, so we could do one thing where we like take away any return marks. But we can do something that's called a pivot table if you just kind of want to get a sense of what you're looking at. So you highlight everything that has data in it, do insert pivot table. And then I guess they call it the ladder is the type of crime. You drag it here, it groups everything. See, there's all this. These are incident report numbers. You know, 09, that's the crime number. This is really events. So I don't know how we're going to have to someone's going to have to go through here and categorize things if we're going to make these. I mean,
so it's got a common code that everybody else's data is going to.
Or yeah, just so we like. I mean, there could be some outliers that warrant arrest. That's not an FBI crime, but mental health. I mean, I need to know what they are, even if it just says like violent property, you know, something, so we can say the majority of crimes on campus were property crimes, or this is San Marcos Police, right? So, but they're going to do the ones in the periphery. So what we might do first is map, once we get the addresses cleaned up, map the ones that are within a quarter mile, half mile of campus, or maybe some that are on campus if they came on campus to help with something. And then we worry about cleaning those up, because that might only be a couple hundred instead.
And there's a couple of things, and I should be the one to talk to. If you guys have questions, jump in. You know, there are no stupid questions.
If we did within 100 feet of off campus, we have a lot of like off campus student housing. Right. So that would manipulate the center.
And like at SMU, they kind of know. I think that the police know where the campus housing is versus do we know where those places are?
Well,
yeah.
we know where the apartments are, but they're still scattered places.
Are they considered university housing, or are they just places that are cheaper where kids can afford?
They're generally cheaper. They're not considered student housing, but a lot of them advertise as student living and things like that. And some of them even say that nobody but students can live there, even though it's illegal for them to say that. But they advertise them.
It's illegal.
Yeah, you can't discriminate based on.
So we have sort of 2 things going on. One, like we know there is some private university is off campus.
The private majority of kids live off campus.
Right, and that's identified. But we want to do 2 things. We want to do the campus around campus. We also want to, this may not be something that you guys want, but we want to identify crime at student apartment complexes. Basically, because we're in a small enough town that we can identify apartments that are primarily student occupied, and we want to look at crime at those apartments.
Well, just make a list, and then what we can do is map those, and then we can cluster crime. We do the whole city's crime, and then the ones that are around places that are known as student housing, we can highlight. And then you say in your story, like most people live there. It's not officially student housing, but you know, you just be honest about the limits of your analysis, because there's no perfect way to do it.
One of the things on this data is there are some huge, a huge number of reports from some specific areas. So, do we want to leave that in there? So, like for example, the mental health facility in town has, you know,
Because every time somebody gets angry or whatever, they show up.
yeah, so it's like 200, and the juvenile detention center's got 500 reports. So, are we going to leave those?
Yeah, if we leave them in, then we can depending on what we ultimately come up with. But there's all these other mapping things you can do. You can plot points, but you can also do like a heat map that shows concentrations. And if we do a heat map where there's concentrations around these student campuses, or student apartments, and we know there's something. I mean, there's going to be crime clustered there because it's an apartment, and it's more dense, but it'll help us spot, you know, if there are a bunch of apartment complexes that aren't student, and there are fewer crimes. So some of it is like really precise. There were 1,000 crimes reported on campus, and some of it's like, you know, there's some visual correspondence to, you know, a hotspot of crime in this area, and that's all you say. into it, and it does this pivot table for you, and it allows you to easily say, just make all these assault and public servant like real quick, and it changes your data for you. But it also keeps the original so you don't override it. And I can try to do that real quick. But feel free to ask questions.
Just making your head explode.
The cool thing about it is like, it seems really annoying, like a pain, but if you learn how to do it, then you can get a job anywhere.
Yeah, it's very cool. I tried to do a MySQL workshop, which seemed like such a great idea, and makes my head explode, you know, because if you don't use it, it's hard to keep. And it's like that, you gotta practice it. So do you use that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But our whole site is on it.
So that's what runs on the extra.
Yeah. It's not, you can get an admin, like an admin tab, and it's much easier. You know, that way you don't fight.
It seems like, yes, I can do this.
This takes a little bit of getting used to, but the guy who built this guy, David Hunt, he did a bunch of videos that are on Google Refine's homepage. If you walk through every, if you can get past this, you can get access to it. So you would just like create what he calls a facet, and that's basically like a group. You just take all like values and group them together. Too many choices is great, so we have to find a way to narrow this down first.
There's a way to come up with the limit.
There is, okay.
Yeah, it's like code.
Well,
I'm not messing with refining columns.
yeah, so one thing you could do is go ahead and do the group like we did in that pivot table, and then import it. Because that's going to reduce it down from, you know, 200 to 1,000, and then you can handle it. But I thought you could do like, I mean, hundreds of thousands of records. I didn't know that.
You can with refine.
I just need to, I need
You
to.
can. It just defaults to not, so you don't bring your computer because you.
Because I just installed this, I usually run it on my Mac. Do you know how to do that?
Sure.
Well, this is a really cool deal because it makes it so easy to clean data, and then it'll even do it with addresses. Like if it'll group all the addresses that kind of look similar, and then you know the ones that are, you can say, okay, go ahead and join all those together, and it'll make them all the same. So I imagine there are going to be some of the apartment complexes are going to be like 100 different crimes at that one address, but the address might be spelled 10 different ways.
And then once it does that, can you then export it?
Yeah, so you can export it as like HTML or comma or Excel, but then you can even export it as like JSON, which is the common format that a lot of data runs on the web. And there's, I mean, if you watch the videos,